everlasting fire.
During Mercenary League, I tried out two things I had on my radar for a while: Dual Strike of Ambidexterity and Strength Stacking. Pretty late in the league, with most of the items and crafting materials available, I threw together a quick setup. I was pleasantly surprised how well it performed with only 1500 strength. It looked pretty promising, especially in one regard: the damage. Dual Strike of Ambidexterity allows our offhand to offset paradoxical downside of low attack speed. We can avail crit chance instead. Viridian Jewels offer 4 crit multi-mods which we can use with one-handed weapons by dual-wielding, global and melee crit multi. The quick and deadly cluster nodes and the ambidexterity node on a tree provide both bonuses with full effect. Tincture can be used to boost crit chance and attack speed temporarily. A lot of flat and increased damage comes from strength indirectly through replica Alberons and Crown of Ice. There's also a rune graph available for 10% more attack speed with the offhand, which just translates to 10% more damage. The build is pretty tanky, it got high life, it's elemental ailment immune because of purity of elements, and rune charges and max res comes from a tree. You could also get block cap with Iron Fortress, which I didn't use because at 1500 strength it only puts you at 50% block chance. Alternatively, Divine Shield could be used, but then you ideally want a hybrid armor energy shield chest to get further energy shield. It's completely reflect immune, which not only helps when rolling maps, but also ignores the reflect on Asiri, Valdos, or on Risk Scarabs. It ignores some of the most annoying tier 17 modifiers. Everything that has to do with action speed reductions is ignored by the Juggernaut Ascendancy. The extra energy shield is ignored by the chaos damage. It's really annoying if T17 bosses have extra energy shield on other builds, because if you die, it fully resets. The biggest downside for me is the weapon range. You have to come up very close to the monster packs to even be able to hit them. It was a big shock of me coming from a skill like Smite of Divine Judgment, for example. Unsurprisingly, the clear is mediocre. You have to dash from pack to pack to clear them. There's some open spots in the defense. You really notice when you're getting hit by chaos damage in Simulacrum, or if there's a chaos damage mod on your map. But that's the same problem with every life build. It has no avoidance. Unless you're using Iron Fortress, then you can avoid attacks via block. Also, if you're getting spammed with spells, it's really hard to survive. For example, on Abomination map boss with difficult map mods. Also, the map mod Steel Charges really destroys your defense, so you need to avoid it usually. A quite important upgrade is the Balance of Terror jewel from Sanctum with the Villa mod, which is quite hard to farm if you're on a melee build. Some other minor downsides to consider is that you can't use Shield Charge. I personally like Whirling Blades though. That you need Cluster Jewels, but these are not hard to farm if you got the Delirium Scarabs. That you are Dex and Instaffed if you don't run attribute clusters, like I have on my setup. I have the Quick and Deadly clusters. Also, if you're aiming for the absolute highest of end builds, you will need a simplex on Reflecting Mists, which you likely not find in SSF. But I don't think it's a big of a problem on strength stacking as on in stacking, because the damage is already good and the clear won't improve much from more strength or at all. Now let's take a short look at the pop. I want to note that this is not a build guide or like a demonstration how well strength stacking or Dual Strike of Ambidexterity can do. Last league I was very lucky and dropped a matching set of Forbidden Jewels, and very good ones at that. I got the one from Chieftain that apply the maximum fire rest to all other resistances, or all other elemental resistances. For a more realistic view, you could just cut the elemental max hit in half, about, so at 40k, with around 80 max res, you can pick up for 6 points. It's an additional max res here. Other than that, I pathed to this last endurance charge. I don't think it's worth it in the hindsight, but I wanted to test Divine Shield. And with 700 ES, which is only coming from my gloves and my helmet, I don't think Divine Shield is worth it. You would have to have the hybrid body armor, energy shield and armor. If you want to respec into this build at the start of the league, you won't have Mage Blood available, but it's mostly used for resistances and speed. So you're walking like a snail if you're not dashing around with Whirling Blades, but there's not too much damage loss. I got 40 attack speed from the Silver Flask and 300% crit, but the tincture that I would be comfortable with using if you're not running Mage Blood has around 160 crit and around the same attack speed. So it's not much of a damage loss at least. And you got more life, more strength. It might even be more damage with a strength stacking belt. Other than that, my gear is pretty good now. So I end up at 80 million DPS. I got the weapon that most people use just with a useless Warlord mod. So I can, together with my ring, activate the Bound by Destiny. The body armor is just some standard Juggernaut armor. The gloves, the standard gloves. Cursor has attack speed and strength. I have it on a Warlord gloves base because I wanted to try some, Divine Shield. With the Alberons, then the amulet with the option of either simplex, synthesized like here, but it's T2, or Awakener Orb together, some amulet, and some rings with multi strength and res. My clusters are quite shit. They basically just have quick and deadly, and okay, this has 3 mods, so some attack speed and damage. But others just have 2 mods, so the quick and deadly is in front. Each of these nodes is like 13% DPS. They're really insane. That's why I'm running 3 clusters. I'm pretty stretched on points otherwise. The Lethal Pride is not that great. Also, I just got some melee damage and melee crit on it. No increased strength mods. Ideally, you would have some of them. I'm not crit capped. Probably dropping these points and allocating some more crit, like here, would be worth it. This Runecraft is completely free. Don't care if the enemy has armor or elemental res or is elemental ailment immune. Also, if you run Flesh and Stone, it doesn't affect the enemy because Flesh and Stone doesn't affect allies. I got some split personalities, one with Strength Life, one with Strength Int, just to help with Int. Ideally, I want a Strength Life on this one too. The most important tool is probably the Balance of Terror, because without it, you only have like 9 Wither stacks. If you press Withering Step, it drops the DPS quite a bit, 80 to 65 in my case. One thing I want to add is that much worse claw will do just fine for the beginning. This one has basically just attack speed and spell damage on it, which are the most important mods. All in all, I'm not sure how much of the power comes from strength stacking or from Dual Strike of Ambidexterity. Nonetheless, I'm looking forward to playing another strength stacker next league. Probably league starting as a Slayer and later respeccing into strength stacking and trying some of the other skills options. I don't think the Bloodline Ascendancies will do much for strength stacking, so that's a bummer, but we'll see. My current plans are to skip Expedition completely, mainly focusing on Kirok, Betrayal and Heist nodes on the Atlas tree. Kirok for map completion and to reroll for harvest missions, so I can get some harvest juice without speccing into it. There's also the chance of getting beast missions. Most of the beasts won't be useful until later, but a wild bristle matron could help to save some divines in the early crafting. In Betrayal, I'll be focusing on a strategy where you only do 2 safe houses with 2 members in it. It's a strategy that's greatly explained by the content creator Business. I'll be linking it in the description. It requires quite some setup, but it allows you to spam the same reward guys over and over again. I'll be choosing Vorisi because he grants few things to link a body armor or any equipment you provide, and Rin that gives you a choice of unique maps for map completion on unlocking crafts. For the other safe house, I have to choose Intervention because I want to farm Paradoxica. There's only a choice of Scarps. I think Ambush and Kato are generally the best because the most common Scarp is useful. For most Scarp types, the most common Scarp is not very useful. It only provides the chance to spawn, which you can get on the Atlas tree anyway. For Heist, this league you'll be able to run blueprints directly without leveling up members. So I'll probably just directly run them, trying to getting a 6 link from there, and save the other blueprints after I obtain the 6 link from either Betrayal or Heist for later. Generally, we're also getting Chaos and some Divines from there. Obviously, we need replica Elberons, and we can give some synth implicit jewelry for our build. Now for the gear, since I'm not doing Expedition, I have to buy the strength items. Betrayal is pretty good for rings or boots, Recombinator, or just loot from the ground. As a backup, you can always spec for Expedition again pretty easily because it's near the Betrayal nodes anyway. What I'll be missing most are the Orb of Alterations that Tushen provides. Also, it's to note that if you're in red maps and start speccing Betrayal, it won't be really possible to run your maps rare and corrupt them for completion anymore, because otherwise the maps are way too hard. So you could either just do completion on another Atlas or Betrayal on another Atlas, or do the completion via corrupted maps from Kirak. I hope I could provide you with some inspiration or ideas. I'll be looking forward to another long-term character progression in Keepers of the Flame.